What's happening, guys? So this video is going to be about the RPE scale, and the main primary focus of this video is just to kind of explain what the scale is, and I'll also go over some ways that you can implement it into your training, but it's not going to be about all the different ways that it can be used, because there's a lot of different ways you can utilize the RPE scale, and I'm not here to say that it's the greatest thing ever. I just want to explain what it is and why you might want to use it, might not want to use it in your training. So the RPE scale works as follows. You basically have a 1 to 10 rating, 10 being absolute maximum effort. Either you failed or you did as much weight as you possibly could without being able to do any more reps at all, and it was just absolute maximum effort. And then it kind of goes down from there. So 9 being you had about 1 rep left in the tank, 8 being you had 2 left, 7 being you had 3 left, and so on. I usually don't go below about a 6. I would just say a 6 is 4 or more reps left. And you can use this for various reasons, and in the beginning when I'm using the RPE scale with somebody, I like to kind of keep it just to full numbers. But as you progress and get better with it, you can start utilizing half RPEs, and basically what that would mean is, say you use a 9.5, it means you could do the same amount of reps with a little bit more weight, maybe like 5 pounds or something, but that's about it. And then that can kind of be helpful in guidance and knowing how to progress and things like that. Now there are several ways to utilize the RPE scale in your training, and there's no one way to just say, okay, here's the RPE scale, go with it. But some of the ways you can do it, you can use it as a terms of progression. If you don't want to do testing like conservative maxes or AMRAP sets, you can use an RPE scale through your training for the week. And if you're keeping everything around about a 7 or 8 RPE, it stands to reason that you could probably add a little bit of weight into your training for the next week and continue to progress. Some people like to use the RPE scale for auto-regulation. I know Mike Teixeira is extremely good with that, but a lot of people have a hard time with that because there's a lot of reasons why your RPE can be kind of skewed, which I'll talk about here in a little bit. But you could use it to set your numbers when you get to the gym. You kind of see how you feel and work up, and based on how you feel, that would dictate the weight that you're going to go through that movement. Now that's not something I do. I use my percentages to dictate what work I'm going to be doing for that workout, and then based on how I actually perform, I record my RPE, and that can be helpful in gauging progress for the next week and just kind of letting my coach know as well kind of how things are feeling and how things are going. But one thing you really got to keep in mind with the RPE, it doesn't necessarily mean that's exactly what you're going to do or could do, because it's perceived exertion. I mean, I've had times where I've done squat sets of doubles and they felt terrible and like about a 9.5 RPE, and then I go to AMRAP and I get 6 because I got a good psych up and I'm able to get through it, because how you feel is not always how you're going to perform in the gym, so you have to keep that in mind. Another way that I am personally starting to use the RPE scale for my personal training right now, and something that I'm completely new to. I know a little bit about it, but I've never actually utilized it in my training, and it's something I talked about in my last video, is using it to dictate my conservative maxes, which will give me my numbers for my heaviest sets. So right now I'm doing 5-3-1 basically in my DUP programming, and on those single days I'm going to do a conservative max where I work up to about a 9 or a 9.5 RPE, and then that number that I do is going to dictate what I'm going to do for my working sets. So say I hit 500 pounds for my squat here coming up on Friday, well then I would do 90% of 500 for my working sets on my singles. So that's just another way that it can be used in training. The other thing to keep in mind is perceived exertion is going to be a lot different for different people depending on what kind of a lifter they are. Some people, they have really slow grindy reps and it feels a lot harder than it really is, whereas some people can kind of bang them out and all of a sudden just completely wipe out. So it's really different for each individual, and you have to kind of keep that in mind, and that doesn't mean you can just use the RPE scale and always know exactly what's going to happen. The bottom line with RPE scales is basically just another tool in the tool belt. It is not the answer to all your problems. It's not the one and only way to do things. It's just another thing that can be utilized to be helpful in your training, but it doesn't mean it's the be-all end-all of training device and always has to be used. But I think it's really nice to just kind of be able to give kind of a description of how your training went and how you felt, and just be able to, even just if you're just talking to people in the gym and you're like, oh, how'd that feel? Well, you know, it felt like about an 8 RPE. Okay, well, it felt like he probably had about 2 more. That's probably a pretty good spot to be training in sub-maximally, but it's just another resource that can be useful in your training if you utilize it properly. But like I said, those are just a couple of ways that RPE can be utilized in training. There are many ways it can be utilized, and there's way more than I could possibly talk about in this one video. So just keep that in mind. And like I said, it's not 100% necessary to be used, but it can be useful, and it just really depends on how you go about using it and being smart with it. Alright guys, I hope that was helpful. If you have any questions regarding it, please leave them in the comments below and I'll be sure to get back to you. If you found this video helpful, please leave it a like, helps out a lot, and I will see you guys in the next video.